What's up, weirdo? Shade Tree Surgeon here with what was formerly the Dipster, now is Shay Lacey's entry into Sportster Summer. Maybe. I'm actually still feeling like total crap. I'm sick, and actually Shay Lacey is sick today too, and we're supposed to leave in about 4 days. And I don't know if it looks like it to you, but this doesn't exactly look like it's ready for 1,000 miles off-road in 4 days. Yesterday when we were working on it, in my being sick and not paying attention, I did manage to shear off one of these bolts on this retaining clip right here. But with Shelby's help and a little help from Shay Lacey's dab rig, I was able to get that out. I replaced that with grade 8 hardware. That's all Loctited in right. And let's do a little work on this. I'm gonna stop talking for right now. I know it's an utter shock to everybody who watches my videos that I would shut up, but my throat really hurts. Might as well start with the essentials, and I'd say front brakes are pretty essential. There's nothing really wrong with the brakes. It's the brake line that's almost completely rusted out. Got this brake line that I took off something else, although I can't remember what it was at this point. That is the right length to work, so let's see if we can make it fit. Well, it's the next day. I had to stop a little earlier than I wanted to last night just because it was getting late and this thing I got going on my throat. Not this. This is for something completely different, but I'm looking kind of busted right now. I am still sick. I still feel like crap. I had to knock off early last night just because the longer the night goes on, the worse I feel. But I'm back at it today. I'll be with a neck brace, which hopefully in the long run is going to make me feel better. Not because of the sickness, but because of my sciatic pain. Anyway, it's not looking super likely now that Sportster Summer is happening, but that doesn't matter. The mission remains the same. I'm still going to try to fix this bike, even if we're going to Sportster Summer or not. It's like I said, and that's not even like a, not even trying to like ramp up to, you know, oh, we're gonna make it. Oh my gosh, pulled it out at the last minute. That's not what I'm saying. It's looking very unlikely that we're gonna make it. The bike's still gonna get fixed though. Even if we don't make the trip this weekend, that doesn't mean we're not gonna go on a Dirtster trip. Come on, baby. Oh, off of what's wrong with my neck, my back, and my crap, and on to what's wrong with this Sportster. So, one of the biggest things that I really gotta do, even if this wasn't gonna be an off-road bike, is this suspension's gotta get rebuilt. And in order for me to take that suspension off, we need a rear wheel on this thing. I don't really wanna have it floating in the air with nothing on it. In order to get a rear wheel on it, I need to finish putting that sucker together. I've got these bolts that I took off the pulley for the old rear rim, but the problem with these things, since these are for a pulley, not a sprocket, they're just a little bit too long for the sprocket. So luckily Brian at the Ride Factory hooked me up with some grade 8 bolts, and you're really not supposed to reuse these things anyway, so I don't mind putting new ones in there. Going nowhere. Assume the position. There we go. Alright, got this chain installed. Had to fight it a little bit. I think my chain guard that I had lying around here must have been for a different year because I had to modify it to fit. But, you know, it fits just fine once it's on there. The real issue is right here. Since this doesn't have the high mount super trap like my bike does, this exhaust bracket right here for the muffler is actually going to hit the chain. So I'm going to take this bracket off and try to modify it so I can still run the muffler. If that doesn't work and the chain still hits, it looks like we're running Sportster Summer with an open exhaust. Trust me, it's not lost on me that that brace was welded in there for a reason. We still got to try. Well, so I'm hoping since this has to support way less weight than the stock exhaust, the Super Trap exhaust is way lighter than the stock exhaust. This would initially have had to port 2 different mufflers that were way heavier than just one single Super Trap. So I'm hoping it doesn't need that. I'm also hoping this chain still clears it. It might still hit the box there, but there's only one way to find out. It looks close. but it does look like it's going to clear okay. What I'd like to probably do is put a primary shoe like I have on mine down here, and then a primary shoe up here. That's what I use for chain sliders on my Dirtster. So there's a primary shoe down here attached to one of these things, and up here then it's going to hit the primary shoe, which is meant to have a chain sliding on it anyway. That way we'll avoid any chain to metal contact. But for right now, let's ride around and see if it actually hits anything or not. I think we should be clear, but once these things start, you know, getting torque on them, they do some pretty crazy things. One other thing that desperately needs some attention before I start it again, which I didn't notice before, is this air filter. Like I said, when the bike sits in the sun and the rain on the kickstand, you can tell a story. The whole motorcycle tells a story, from the parts of the chrome that are worn off to where on the other side you can see where all the rain kind of flowed down on this, and then you have things over here like this horn cover, which is perfectly fine because it was on the opposite side over here. Now this open element air filter over here, which was in the elements, has ceased to air filter, and it's actually falling apart. You can see the paper here just falling off the mesh, so that has to be replaced. Luckily, I got one. Not only do I have one, but I have the exact one. Thank you to the very awesome subscriber who sent this to Shaylee's P.O. box, because it's the exact same air filter. I looked at this and go, there's no way I'm gonna be able to find this air filter for this, whatever brand this is, and I remembered, hey, somebody sent us one, so thank you. Oh yeah, dude. This thing is not doing that carburetor any favors, that's for sure. It is just completely falling apart. And yeah, you look at the inside of this carburetor, it's just filled. There's not filled, but there's a bunch of air filter element in there. That's not good. Huge thanks. That is very, very helpful right about now. Much better. Although I'm still probably gonna have to take that carb off and clean it out. Well, you know, I was just putting the tools away and getting ready to take this thing for a test ride when all of a sudden I remembered yeah, there's no front brake line on it. That would have been a nasty surprise. Although I like to think that I would have figured that out before I actually started moving. Luckily, Brian at the Ride Factory once again had me covered. This is why you always support your local motorcycle shop. It's always nice to replace these rubber lines with steel braided ones anyway. These brakes need all the help they can get. All right, let's see what we're working with. Well, it runs and rides, but there is a couple issues. So up here on the lift, the chain does not hit at all. That's because the front shocks are preloaded because I got it strapped down. Now with no preload, the chain does drop down onto that bracket right there. So worry is if the chain loosens up, which, you know, new chains do loosen up, then it will drop low enough to hit that. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on that for sure, and, you know, eventually get a slider down there to take care of that. I'm running out of things I can do tonight because it's late and I feel like shit, and I'm in more pain other than just being sick and my throat hurting. I want to at least get a couple other things that are just busy work done on this. I want to get the oil changed and primary fluid in it, and I got a easy pull clutch I'm going to put on in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get that stuff done, because if I do it now, I ain't going to have to do it tomorrow. And even though I think it's very, very unlikely that we're going to make Sportster Summer, if I were going to make it, I have to do every single thing possible to this bike as fast as possible. So no rest for the wicked. I think it's kind of funny how you change the oil on Sportsters with this tube right here. Feels like you're changing the oil on a tractor. And of course, people who don't like Harley Davidsons would say it's like changing the oil on a tractor. Or maybe people who like tractors and Harleys would say, yeah, it's like changing the oil on a tractor. That's a good thing. Who knows? I'm going to change the primary oil next, and the whole primary is kind of noisy, so I would not be shocked if there's no oil in it or if the primary chain is way, way out of spec. A lot of metal on the end of that plug, but of course that is the clutch, so it's not weird that there's some metal in there, but I'm definitely going to have to check the adjustment of that primary because something seems noisy in there. Doesn't smell burnt up though. Fluid smells fine. I'm going to go ahead and pull this cover off next, put that easy pull clutch in here. As always, you remember that this guy does have a spring behind it. I've put these in a lot of Sportsters. When I say a lot, like 4. I think they work like a charm. It's just an easy pull clutch. It's Clutch Light is the name of the manufacturer. It's a German company, and it's just a different ramp up. For someone like Shay Lisi who has problems with their hands, Sportster clutch pulls are pretty tough. So I even put these in my bikes too. So I'm not saying that I'm like Mr. Badass. So these things are awesome. This is reverse thread, so we're just going to take this all the way out, and we can pull this entire assembly out. Be careful not to lose this. I will tell you, this thing right here, you can lose it. I've dropped it down in there before. Luckily, last time I did it, I was able to fish it out with a magnet, but be careful. And this thing is just held in place with a snap ring right there, and you got your new ramp on there. Now, this is full of ball bearings, so again, be careful. That guy comes off, and your new, oh! Yeah, be careful with those ball bearings, huh? As I was saying, that one comes off and your new one goes on. As far as modifications go, that one is pretty damn easy. I know from experience, these things, if they've never been checked before, can be pretty dang stubborn. When I say experience, I know from Shelby. So let's give them a whack. Break them loose a little bit. There we go. Nice and easy. Maybe they would have been nice and easy without me whacking them, but that's how Shelby taught me. Let's see what we got. That is a little loose. Not loose enough to be causing as much noise as it was making, but feels a little loose. Whew. I think that's about all I got for tonight. My throat's hurting, my neck's hurting. I think it's time for bed. But we got fresh oil. It runs, it rides. We'll do the suspension tomorrow. I ain't got it in me tonight. Okay, it's the next day. I'm actually feeling a little bit better. It's a good sign, although I have gotten better and then felt sick the next day, like multiple times throughout this. The only thing that really makes me feel a little more confident is ever since I talked about this for the first time in the video, and I've told a couple friends about like being sick with sinus, chest congestion, sore throat for over a month, I've had several other people come to me and say, holy crap, I just went through the same thing. So it makes me feel a little bit better because my doctor was kind of like, we need to start testing for serious diseases. So I'm still gonna get my blood work done, but I also feel a little more confident now. Some of my friends are just getting over this same kind of thing. Anyway, back to work on the Dirtster, the Dipster. We're gonna try to do something about this chain. You see, with the way this bike is set up, I'm worried about chain slap back there. So I got these kind of hard plastic rollers. Shelby gave them to me because we're on a time constraint and I didn't have access to a primary shoe from an Evo, which is what I used on mine. I'm gonna try to make these things work. Luckily, the same way that I'll make these things work, I can actually replace them with a primary shoe later. I'm hoping anyway. All right, I don't know if this is gonna work or not, but let's give it a whirl. Ah, damn, that's hot. I want it to fit on here and I want it to be able to spin, but obviously I can't have it spin at super high rates of speed because there's no bearing in here. It may turn out to be a gigantic waste of time, but I gotta give it a whirl. I don't want that chain hitting metal on metal. Just above this. Right now it's gonna roll on it. I really don't know if that's a good thing or if it can even stand up to being actually rolled on. Better to be actually captured, to be actually stationary and let the chain slide over the top of it instead of letting it actually move. So I've shaped it a little bit on my grinding wheel because I don't want this to be a rotating piece. I just want it to be the first thing this chain hits instead of metal. I think I've shaped it enough to be able to stick it in this exhaust bracket so that way this is the highest point by a little bit. So if we do have any chain slap, it's gonna glide over this before it ever starts hitting metal. I hope. Cool. You see what I did? I don't want it to actually ride on there. I just want this to be the tallest piece. So if we do end up getting some chain slap from suspension going up and down or rider weight or whatever's on it or terrain changing and the suspension working and all that, I just want this to be the first thing it hits and not metal. So this is not a chain guide, it's not a chain tensioner, it's just insurance. But I'll replace it with something more permanent later. Now that I've got that chain figured out and the heavens have burst asunder once more, back in our normal 5 o'clock showers here in Florida, which is good. Might have grass again instead of just a big dirt pit. Time to do what I've been kind of avoiding doing because I don't like doing it, just because it's one of those precious, precious fluids that I really don't like on my hands, but it is what it is, we gotta do it. Time to pull those forks apart because they're bad. I'm curious to see what's in there right now because right now they are pretty short. I think that they might have 1-inch lowering dampening rods in them or something like that. Either that or the springs are broken. I'm not really sure, but let's pull them off and see what we're working with. Another cool CC Bros part, portable fork brace for a 39mm. Trust me, these 39mm front ends, they need all the bracing they can get. Why is there a metric bolt on this part? Of course, this thing is attached to the forks, which are Showas, so they are metric, so I shouldn't be complaining. But I am complaining, so here we are. What are you gonna do about it? It was a nice piece at one point, it's a joking machine. Golly, who put that in there? That's more like it. Cool. It's butthead. I've realized my error, as everyone has probably very helpfully pointed out after I did it and after I edited the video. I definitely should have loosened those fork caps while they were still in the triple trues. All right, already getting messed up here. A lot easier than trying to take it off outside of this. Remember to keep a hand on this because it is spring loaded. Now it shouldn't be under too terribly much tension. I say hopefully, but it will be under some. Ooh, I think the next one I'll lower down a little bit more. That kind of hurt. Wasn't I just complaining about metric parts? Let me get the metric Allen that goes on the bottom of this. So this takes a 6mm. Make sure you use an actual Allen, not a ball line. A straight wall Allen, or else you will be drilling these out. Ask me how I know. Oh, shit. Yeah, make sure you have your catch can handy too. Wow. That is not the color that's supposed to be. Yeah, that is the color of water in there. Not the color it's supposed to be. Yikes. There we go. Oh yeah, no wonder. It's just piece suspension has seen better days, I'll tell you that. Dust seal's got a whole bunch of crud holding it in. Oh man. And that retaining ring in there is just literally rusted to freaking death. 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Since I've got these things off, I am going to go ahead and clean them up a bit. I'm not going to put a full shine on them or anything, but we can make them look better than they do now, at least. It can be by no means perfect, but it's going to look better than it did. There we go. Is that perfect? Absolutely not. Does it look better than before? Yeah, I guess that's debatable, but I think it does. You know, you don't always have the suspension apart, so even though it takes a little extra time, I'm not exactly made of time right now, you got the chance to clean something up like this, you should go ahead and clean it up. So I know Shelby's told me it's okay to dab a little bit of grease on the end of this dampening rod to make sure that this thing sticks to the end. Just a little bit of silicone on the threads here, just so we get a nice good seal. Now let's go ahead and drive this seal in there, which we'll just use this old washer right here and a PVC pipe. That and a dust seal, and we're done. There we go, one done, baby. On to the next one. Gross. Let's go ahead and make this thing look like a motorcycle again. Right now, it looks like a mess. As they say, the proof is in the pudding. Oh, I thought it was like a bee. I could start right up. Okay, the proof is in the pudding, and it starts right up. Well, all right. It goes ramming speed, don't it? But it feels like something's missing. It's missing something. I'm not sure what. Okay, I know what it is. Why would you have a dirtster if you couldn't do stuff like this? Come on now. That's the whole point of the bike, ain't it? And of course, we know what it's missing. Some of that stab and grab juice. They're out. Oh no. Oh no. What are we gonna do? That's okay. The Rob and Sob is too far away, but I think we can go down to the street to the Choke and Poke, and they might have gas. Oh, I'll tell you, it ain't no stab and grab juice, but the Choke and Poke will do in a pinch. I wonder if they take Apple Pay. Maybe not. Nothing but the best. I know people are saying, man, you always go to the stab and grab. you must go there because you want something exciting to happen for your video, because something's always happening there. And what you don't realize is I live in the ghetto, man. Every gas station looks like that. The Stab and Grab is actually the nicer gas station out of all the ones I could go to. Yeah, let that sink in. When I tell you the Stab and Grab's the nice gas station, I mean it. Dude, this thing rocks. Oh yeah. Being able to ride around with actual suspension, hey, that's pretty nice. You know, what was in the forks before was pretty much just water, so being able to turn this thing and have you know, the suspension actually do what it's supposed to, what a difference that makes. Feels pretty good to be able to take this thing, no, I mean, not completely apart, and have the engine apart, but have both wheels off it, have the suspension completely apart, you know, convert it from a belt drive to a chain drive, just do all this stuff to this motorcycle, and then just get on it and rip this throttle wide open and have it do exactly what it's supposed to. I'm still feeling a little down on power, so I'm pretty sure we need to do something to that carburetor. And I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, this fancy gas cap, this like where it disappears, this flush mount gas cap, I'm gonna go ahead and say the dirty water coming out of it, we're probably gonna replace that with a traditional gas cap. Flush mount gas caps might look cool, but you know, when you look at the top of that right there, I'm pretty sure you don't want like a direct line from the elements and rain, a direct seam going into your tank. That just seems like a bad idea to me. I mean, I don't know everything, but I would probably avoid that if it was me. Dude, this sucker is ready to rock and roll, man. We got brakes, we got suspension, it goes when you twist the throttle. This bike is all right, man. Definitely needs some more things before, you know, I would say anybody could get on it. I would trust Shay Lacey because she's got plenty of experience riding sketchy Sportsters, but do a couple more things on this and I would give this bike to anybody and say, you're ready for your Dirtster adventure. That's pretty cool. I mean, it just speaks to the versatility of the Sportster that you hit up TC Bros, get a few parts here and there, and all of a sudden you've taken a cruiser that's meant for like Friday night bar hopping and turn it into something that you can have an off-road adventure on. Now, let me tell you, you could certainly have an off-road adventure on a Sportster without, you know, doing anything. You can do it on a stock one, but, you know, doing a little bit of suspension work, having that chain drive, you know, it makes a difference, man. It does make a difference. And right now, I would say this bike is ready to rock and roll. Now, it is set up, I would say, not for anybody who's over 6'2". Like, my bike is set up for someone tall. This bike is not. This bike is ready for anybody to ride it. So I guess it'd be okay for someone who's 6'2". I would probably still put the lowered foot pegs on it. If I had those, it'd be perfectly fine. And even though we have not done the impossible, it's not like what we did was that hard. We haven't done the impossible, but we have gotten a motorcycle ready for an off-road adventure, and we've taken a street bike to a dirt bike in about 2 days, and that feels pretty good, but I still don't feel very good, and Shay doesn't feel very good, and unfortunately, I think that Sportster Summer is canceled. For us anyway. It's not canceled for everybody, but it's canceled for me and Shay Lacey. I really wanted to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna pull it out at the last minute and we're gonna do Sportster Summer, and all this crap I talked earlier in the video was just me trying to hype it up and make it more exciting. Unfortunately, that is actually just not the case. The case is enough things have stacked up to make it not make sense for us to go. But the bike is done, so it's not like we're not gonna have an off-road adventure with Shay Lacey on this Sportster and me on my Dirtster. Well, I guess they're both Dirtsters. It'll be me on Old Dirty Bastard and Shay Lacey on the Dipster. But that's gonna be a video for another day. And until next time, keep it weird, y'all.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Armies of the night, evil taking flight. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Panic spreading far and wide. Can the world oppose the deadliest of foes? Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Who will risk it all to end the evil call of Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. They give up, they never say die, walking tall with banners high.
Shade Tree Army, a ruthless gang of scum, villains, freaks, and bikers determined to rule the world.